I'd like to show you how to measure the window size and position on envelopes. Many of the envelopes that we manufacture have windows, often on the front, sometimes on the back, sometimes on the front and back. When you describe a window, it's really important that you orient the envelope correctly and that your measurements are accurate, because mistakes could be very costly. There are postal requirements that dictate where windows are placed, and in communicating with the manufacturer, we want to make sure we know exactly what size, what position window you need, so we do it right for you. When we work on an envelope with a window, the first thing we do is make sure that the flap is at the top, always. This is really important. The size of a window is always described as the height by the width. So, on this envelope, if the window were here, we would first want to measure this dimension, the height. Let's say it's 1 1/8 inch. We would then want to measure the width. In this case, let's say it's a 4 1/2. That's a standard window. The next important fact or detail is where the window is positioned. Windows can be just about anywhere on the face of an envelope or on the back, but there are some limitations. Ideally, the window should be no closer than 1/2 of an inch from the perimeter of the envelope. And the size of the window shouldn't exceed 50% of the total surface area of the envelope. If we're measuring a window that is here, and we've specified that it's a 1 1/8 by 4 1/2 window, we next want to position it. First is the position from the left. That's the measurement from the left edge to the window. In this case, we'll say it's a 1/2 inch. Next, we measure the distance between the bottom of the window and the bottom of the envelope. And once again, flap at top, always, regardless of the style of envelope. Let's say that in this case, it's an inch. Okay. When we describe this window, we would say it is a 1 1/8 by 4 1/2 window. It's rectangular, and it's positioned 1/2 inch from left and 1 inch from the bottom, with flap at top. It's always good to mention that. That way everybody knows how you're looking at it. Sometimes you may be at your desk and we may be here trying to understand what you're trying to get made. When we measure and specify window sizes and positions, it's always really important that the flap be at the top, regardless of the style envelope. Here's an open side seam envelope with the flap at the top. Our window description is height by width. But what if the envelope window looks like that? Well, this is the height, this is the width. So with flap at top, a window that's positioned vertically is described as a 4 1/2 by 1 1/8 inch window. That's important because the tooling that's used to make this configuration is very different from the tooling that would make this configuration. And we need to know that when you order or when you're asking for a quote. What if you're working with a catalog envelope? That's an open-end center seam envelope. Again, everything will be fine as long as we start with the flap at the top. In this instance, our flap is here, and let's say that the window is here. The same rules will apply. We start with the height, and then the width. Again, let's say it's 1 1/8 inch high, 4 1/2 inches wide, and then we measure the position with the flap at the top, from left and from bottom. In this case, let's say it's 1/2 inch left and 7 inches bottom.